Here we are. Hi, I'm Auriel Grace, and this is a spiritual show. And tonight we have sitting right next to me, kinda, Mark Anthony, psychic lawyer, whom I'm a super fan of. And I hope by the end of the show that you will be a super fan too. So we're going to be talking about his new book, The Afterlife Frequency, which is totally awesome. I've read almost all of it, and what I read is really cool. It is scientific proof. I mean, this is a great book. It can explain so much about what you feel, how you feel, also like the near-death experiences, what they're like, why, who's talking to you. It's really very awesome. So, hey, Rockin' Reverend Rhonda. Hey, Miss Kelly. All right. So this is Mark Anthony. I'm his fangirl. I'm the top one. The rest of you guys can be below me, okay? So that's what I tell everybody. Okay, so I'm going to brag about him for a second because, we have to do that. So Mark Anthony, he is a psychic lawyer, okay? So he is also a lawyer as well. And he has written, and I've read all of his books. If you go to Amazon, or you can go to the afterlifefrequency.com and check out his books there. They're really awesome. I've read all of them. I think if you go to Amazon, you'll see my reviews. He is able to explain being a psychic medium or being a psychic, what it's like to do that and what it's like to help people in this industry. And I do feel like he has really helped a lot of people in this industry. And, so if you want a reading from him as well, you can go to the afterlifefrequency.com. It's on the ticker tape down below, and I'll keep pointing to different things as we go on. So, he's been to Oxford University because, he is a lawyer. And during this show, we're going to be talking a little bit more about his book, the new book. And we might talk a little bit about the other books too. You never know what can happen. So I want to thank you. Welcome everybody tonight because I see you all coming on in. I'm so grateful. So if you have questions, put them in the comments. Remember that if I don't see them right away, I'll see if I can get to them tonight. So please do ask your questions about what we're talking about. And also ask a question if you feel like you're connecting to Mark in a good way and you do have a question for him, please ask it. And I'll ask him. Can you see the comments, Mark?
I can't.
Okay, that's okay.
Yeah, you know what? It's because I'd rather focus on talking to you, and then you can bring up the comments. So that works. And for all the listeners, Auriel and I, we've known each other for years, and I've seen her picture, and she's seen mine. But everything's been done on audio before, and this is the first time I'm interacting with her, and this is awesome. I love it.
It's fun, and he's coming back. I'll talk really fast, you guys.
Absolutely. This is one of my favorite shows to be on because she's like my sister from another mister,
That's right. There you go. See you guys? This is what I'm talking about, because we've got Theo, he's my bro. So now we have Mark and another bro. So, like I'm always saying to everyone, we're all interconnected. We are all connected.
Yes.
So it's all good, right? Yes. All right. So one of the things that I did read that I love the story, and I know I'm going out of
that's fine.
But I love the story about the shark.
Yeah.
And how your dad was always trying to get you to be aware of your surroundings because your mom and dad were also intuitive. They were also psychic mediums. And your dad was always trying to get you to be aware. And here you guys are out on Love Island, I think.
Yeah, it was Love Island. Yeah, or it was Love Beach in the Bahamas. Yeah.
Love Beach in the Bahamas, and you're looking at all the beautiful coral, and you swim. You're not paying attention.
I wasn't listening, and I don't want to give away the stories because that's one of the biggies. But I'll give the gist of it.
Yes.
Both my parents were psychic mediums, and my dad was a Navy SEAL and a NASA engineer. And my mother was a commercial illustrator and a very accomplished artist. So, being mediums was part of their DNA, but it's not like they did it professionally. And my dad was real big on teaching my brother and I, especially, like how to swim without making noise, how to walk through a forest or in a jungle without making noise. Right. He was always about awareness. And one of the concepts that I teach in the book is about awareness, because for first responders and military personnel, situational awareness is key. And, Auriel and I were talking about this before, about traveling. When you walk into an airport, or, because today we've always lived in a dangerous world, but it's even more so now. Situational awareness is a highly valued skill by first responders and military, because it teaches you to pay attention to everything that's going on around you. And I'm going to make a joke for a minute. I'll get back to your question. But I saw this on Facebook recently. It was hilarious. It was this cartoon, and it's a public park, and there's benches, and all these people are on their cell phones, and they're playing with their cell phones, looking at it, and you see Bigfoot walking by. And the caption said, "This is why there have been no recent sightings of Bigfoot." Okay, because people don't pay attention. We're tuned into these electronic devices, and people just sort of wander into situations. Well, not in my family. Dad's thing was be aware, be aware. And I learned not only to be aware of my surroundings, but to expand that beyond the physical to the energetic and the spiritual. And so that's why the name of the first chapter in the book is Spiritual Situational Awareness. Well, one of my passions as a kid was snorkeling. And for those of you who don't know what that is, it's where you wear a mask and you have a snorkel and swim fins. And it's not scuba diving, because that's where you wear the tanks. And scuba is cool because you can go a lot deeper, and you have your own independent air supply. But snorkeling is nice because you can see, reefs and things. And most of the most colorful things in the ocean are within 30 feet of the surface, because the deeper you get, it gets darker, and so you don't see the colors as much. And so my parents, we did a summer vacation, and they surprised me, taking me to the Bahamas so that my dad could take me snorkeling. And of course, we're staying at this hotel on Paradise Island, and it had a casino and a nightclub. And that's what Mom wanted to do, Mom was a city girl. Her idea of camping was like Bloomingdale's, not Nordstrom's, and so she was set up at a cabana on the beach, and she said, "I'll have lunch for you guys when you get back." And Dad, and it was a joke with my siblings and I, because Dad was always like, be aware, we'd go out at night, be aware. Well, we're going in the water, and he said, be aware. Okay. Right. And he said, stay with me. And he said, be quiet, and we had, he taught me these hand signals, because when you're snorkeling, you can't talk, so you have these signals that you use, like, let's go in. Are you okay? There's, danger. There's all of these signals that we had developed. And so we were snorkeling, and we're probably about a half mile offshore, because there's this gorgeous, beautiful, unbelievable coral reef there. And I was only 13, and I was 13. Okay. So I had the whole attitude and everything that comes with that. Yes. And I wasn't paying attention. And part of what I'm teaching in this chapter is not only about awareness, but also about vibrational energy. Yes. And so I wasn't paying attention. I got caught up in the beauty. And then all of a sudden I realized that the coral reef had ended. And now I'm in about maybe 100 to 200 feet of water. And then I got scared. So I started splashing and thrashing to get back. And all of a sudden, Dad darts over to me, sticks his head above water and says, "Get in now."
Yeah.
And I knew that he meant business. And I knew not that he goes, "Don't look back, go." And all of a sudden I saw it. And this huge tiger shark was coming right at us like a torpedo through the water. And if you want to find out what happens, you're going to have to read the Afterlife Frequency.
That's right. Because when I was reading it, when I read that part of it, I was holding my breath. I was, because it's really good and you'll enjoy the story. So I have a comment from Benita Lynn, and she turned yesterday's session with Mark, and it was simply amazing, so informative, and left me with wanting to learn more. Oh. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I was honored by Spiritual Awakenings International to give a presentation. See, I'm a medium, but I also am a near-death experience researcher, and I research the paranormal, what people call supernatural phenomenon. And I've always been interested in like everything. When I was a kid, I read and read and read. So I have a background in quantum physics, in law, in theology, philosophy, archaeology, biology. And also when I was practicing law puts you in everything. Like, you'd have a case where somebody was badly injured or killed. And so I had to read all the medical reports and then work with the experts and all that. And so I started studying the functions of the brain, and all of a sudden it made sense to me how this what we do, what Auriel and I do as mediums, is that there's a logical and a scientific explanation for everything. And that's one of the reasons that I wrote the Afterlife Frequency. And see, she's got a galley. The real book is a book.
Yes.
What a galley is, that's like an advanced copy. Because due to shortages of caused by COVID, the hard copy will be Amazon October 12th. The audio book will be available October 5th, and I was honored to be the narrator for that. So I was happy for that. And so Spiritual Awakenings International asked me to give a presentation, and it was entitled "Debunking Death: The Science of Reincarnation and Near-Death Experiences." And some of the topics that I touched on in the discussion are from the Afterlife Frequency, because once again, what Auriel and I do is not hocus pocus. It's not magic. There is a reason for everything and a scientific explanation. And you know what, Auriel, is the reason I wrote this book is I call what we do interdimensional communication, because we are here in the material world. Yes. The other side is another dimension. And when you communicate from one dimension to the other, it's interdimensional communication. Yeah. But in my research over the years, I saw that there's a parallel between mediumship, what Auriel and I do, talking to spirits, with near-death experiences, yes, with deathbed visions, with visitations from spirits that people who aren't necessarily mediums, get when you sense a loved one around, right? Out of body experiences, because they're all based on similar frequency alignment between our dimension and the other side. You get a frequency alignment. They're all based on energy transfer. And so that's one of the reasons I wrote the book, is so that people could understand this, and in an easy to understand way.
Well, and this is the thing too, is people always ask me, like, and when I was reading your book, I was like, oh my God, this totally makes sense, because people always ask me, like, well, what are they saying? And it's like, I feel like I'm a translator, because I don't necessarily hear words. I sense like it's a song, and then I translate the song. And so when I was reading the Afterlife Frequency and you were explaining this, and I was like, oh my God, he wrote, this is this is like really cool. This is how it really is, because it is a very quick, it's a quick vibrational thing that gives you this fabulous download that you're able to communicate really quickly.
Yeah.
And so so when as you were like explaining the science of it, I was just like, wow, this is like, it is a really cool book. And for those of you who really are interested in the frequency, in how, how everything kind of balances out, how we receive messages, and the near-death experiences, and like Rhonda's had near-death experiences. I believe there's a couple other people here who have had near-death experiences. Some of you have had like experiences of loved ones coming to see you either right when they've passed or after they've passed. So this is all explained in this book, and the way it's explained, everyone will be able to understand. You don't need to have a thesaurus with you to translate the words. It's like, so I want to let everybody know that. And so, okay, so I do have Derek. I've heard Mark talk in the past about levels on the other side. How many levels or dimensions has he encountered in his work? That's a cool question.
It's a very cool question. And I don't know if I have a clear answer for that, because think about, by analogy, okay, we live in AM radio, because everything has a frequency and a vibration, and call the afterlife frequency, the other side, FM radio. And how many stations are there in FM radio? All right. You start with, let's say, 87.2, 87.3, 87.4, all the way up to, I think, 107.9. I'm not sure if there's a 180, but the thing is, there's a huge amount of frequencies. And the thing is, I've noticed this through years of communicating with the other side. But if you think about it, many religions talk about different dimensions in the other side. And when the Apostle Paul talks about a near-death experience in the book of I think it's 2 Corinthians or 2 Corinthians. No, it's 1 Corinthians. Yeah. And he talks about the third heaven. Okay, the first heaven is the sky, the second heaven is the stars, the third heaven is the realm of God. So just there's 3 different levels to heaven. I mean, if you look at the Mormon religion, they have the terrestrial world, the telestial world, the celestial world. Islam has 7 different levels to paradise. And then in traditional Christianity, you have heaven and hell. And I was raised in the Catholic faith. We have heaven, hell, and purgatory, which is sort of like, probation, where you're not bad enough to go to hell, but not good enough to go to heaven. So they stick you there for 50,000 years until, all right, fine, then you've done your time, off to heaven you go. And, I don't mean to be facetious, but the thing is that other belief systems have talked about multiple levels. And so I think that this phenomenon has been encountered and understood for thousands of years. And the different religions are merely explaining it through their filter.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
So great question.
Yes. And then, all right. So, okay. Garrett and Carla. All right. That's the name. I never asked this question. I love to see who my spirit guide is with me. Who are my, okay. So who are my angels in heaven? All right. So you can take that one.
All right. What's the question exactly?
I feel like she wants to know
who her spirit guards are.
Yeah. Like who her spirit people are. And that's what I always say. Ask, because and there's different ways you can ask and receive information. You can also, there's automatic writing, there's meditation, there's things like that. And here's the thing. This is what I tell all of my students, everyone that I talk to, is that your relationship with your spirit guides and angels is the most important relationship to have, because they are there with you consistently and constantly. So whatever, don't dismiss anything that you hear, see, feel, because it is true. And so if you write down those things, most likely as soon as you're getting it, or your epiphany, whatever you want to call it, it's true. So try that, Garrett, and let us know how it works. You can always email us and let us know.
Yeah. Right. And yeah, Auriel, I think that was an absolutely fantastic explanation.
Thank you.
And you mentioned meditation. Meditation is extremely important for a lot of things. And, it's not just some airy fairy thing that a bunch of granola chewing hippies in California came up with, I mean, and the reason I'm being funny there, because I'm sure I'm going to get a bunch of emails from airy fairy granola chewing hippies in California, but I'm kidding. But the thing is, a lot of major corporations now are basically requiring their executives to meditate because it makes them more productive. So think of your consciousness as a whiteboard. And as soon as you wake up in the morning, you start writing your thoughts on it, your impulses, your feelings. What does that look like at the end of the day? I mean, it's covered with, I'm angry about this. I need to lose weight. My boss, I hate him. My kids are driving me nuts. And then I'm stuck in traffic. Okay, so what meditation does is it allows you to erase that whiteboard so you can focus on one thing. Yep. Clear the mind, quiet the mind. I mean, if you look at, how Buddha went into the wilderness for roughly 40 days and 40 nights to do that. Jesus, there's a similar story about going into the wilderness and clearing his mind and developing this enhanced sense of consciousness, Christ consciousness, a connection, enlightenment. And the thing is, anyone can be enlightened when you're sitting on the top of a mountain enjoying a beautiful view. It's when you're stuck in traffic, okay, or you're at work and you're being agitated by coworkers or a boss that, you're doing your best. That's the real test for being enlightened. Because it's funny, like, when I've been in places like I'm on a mountaintop in Maui and people are like, oh, it's so spiritual here. It's like, you think? Yeah. Let's try doing this when you're stuck in traffic in LA and you need to be somewhere in 2 minutes, and that's not going to happen.
Not going to happen. Yeah. Not in LA.
and I love it. I'm just using LA because it's infamous for its traffic. And the thing is, that's the real challenge. And meditation helps people with their spirituality. Yes. And so if that one thing that you want to focus on could be, I'm asking, don't demand, ask your spirit guide or guides to step forward. Auriel, can I talk about the raft technique? Because this would be a good follow. Okay, good follow-up for that. A 4-step. Yeah, I developed a 4-step. Well, I had some help, and I was trying to explain, how do you tell people who are not necessarily mediums how to get the most out of spirit contact? Yeah. And the thing is, a lot of our colleagues, Auriel, they do these courses. I'll turn you into a medium. Well, not everybody is a medium. No. It's like Auriel and I can go swimming, but we're not going to be winning gold medals in the Olympics. Okay. Nope. I can play a guitar, but I am not going to win an Emmy for anything with a guitar. Okay. Or a Grammy, okay. Grammy. All right. But the thing is, we can still have the experience. It's just that some people are better at it than others. Like some are better athletes, some are better musicians, so on and so forth. So I'm beating my head against the wall trying to explain this, and I got writer's block. So I live near the ocean, and I thought, okay, I'll go for a walk along the beach. And I get up and I go outside, and I get this tingly sensation. I'm like, okay. I know when spirits are around because I get this sensation, because spirits are pure electromagnetic energy. And when their energy field interfaces with our electrical field in our nervous system, you get cold chills and tingles. Yep. And I knew I had to do an about face. And instead of going to the ocean, I went for a walk along this bike path near my house. It's around 11 in the morning. Nobody's on the bike path. And I see these 2 objects glowing, shining in the light. I walk over and I see a penny and a nickel. And I lean over and I hear, both my parents have passed, but I hear my mother say, if they're not heads up, don't touch them. And I started laughing because my mother's family was of Italian descent, and they have a superstition for everything. You know, if a coin is heads down, that's bad luck. You know, don't cross your silverware, don't walk under a ladder, all this stuff. You know, and then I hear Auriel understands. And then I hear my dad's voice. It's money, grab it, and I'm laughing. So I pick up the nickel and this penny, and I'm looking at them, and I go, "Oh, 6 cents," and I go, 6 cents. Then the chills start coming over me, and I go, okay, mom and dad are trying to tell me something. And I get in my mind's eye, I see an image of my father standing in the ocean holding this blue canvas raft that he used to have. Okay, he was Navy SEAL, he was a scuba diver, a swimming instructor. I go, raft. And then it hit me. Recognize, accept, feel, trust, raft. And I knew that's exactly, and I ran back to my house, flipped on the computer, the words just flew out of me. And that's what they were trying to show me, is how to teach people to recognize signs from spirits. Like when I saw the 6 cents, I picked it up and I heard their voices, recognize it, accept the experience is real, feel it, don't overthink it, feel it without fear. And this is where people get jammed up.
Yes,
because when they get to the third step, instead of feeling, they do what I call cross-examining the experience. So you would have me believe this is a genuine spiritual experience. Are you sure this is not grief-induced hallucination? Is this my imagination? This could just okay, and that's where people go wrong. You got to feel, and then from there, trust.
Yep.
Recognize, accept, feel, trust. And I knew, and that was it. And I want to add this proviso, and I absolutely know you're going to agree with me, Auriel.
Yes.
People say, well, how do you know it's really a message from a spirit? In this world that we're living in, there's a lot of conspiracy, a lot of violence, a lot of crazy people, a lot of cult activity where they say they received a shamanistic message that they need to go do an insurrection or start a fire or blow things up or fly planes into buildings and blah, blah, blah. That has nothing to do with messages from spirits. That is nothing more than a person's ego edging God out. And you can tell the difference because egoistic agendas are all about narcissism, me, and they result in anger, bigotry, hatred, and violence.
Yes.
And messages from the divine, from the white light, from the afterlife frequency are about love, healing, resolution, and peace, inner peace. And therein lies the difference. And so the raft technique is not just for meditation or, gee, I think my mom came to me in a dream. It can also be used to help people interpret and make sense of a near-death experience, of a deathbed vision where someone you love is dying and all of a sudden they're talking to deceased loved ones connected to them, and then maybe you see them too, because once again, frequency overlap. So I developed the raft technique to have an application to the various forms of spirit communication, interdimensional communication.
Right. Oh, and I wanted to say this too, as you were talking about the penny and the nickel. Rockin' Reverend Rhonda, that's what I call her. Rhonda Hampton Schneely. She, her thing is always is a dime and a penny. That is.
Oh my God! Yesterday in my bedroom, and I don't know where it came from, there was a dime and a penny laying on the floor, and I was like, I wonder what that's all about. So this, okay, here we go. Oh my God! Recognize, accept, feel, trust. What did it mean to for her?
That is like her story is she whenever she gets messages from spirit, she always gets a dime and a penny, or she will get 11 cents no matter what.
11 cents.
It's 11 cents.
It's the number 11.
It's from her grandpa. And her name is Rhonda Hampton Schneely, and I will give you her information later because I think that you and she will like hit it off.
And I'm not a numerologist, but I do know that for the folks who do numerology, 11 is a very, very powerful and spiritual number. Yeah, so I tend to think that getting the number 11 is it's when she thinks of her grandfather, that's definitely from him, because that's what I call a frequency beacon, and I explain that in Afterlife Frequency as well. Yeah. And 11 and see, it's like, for those of you who are listening, and let's say you look at a clock and you always see a particular number combination, like let's just say 111, just for the sake of example. And as soon as you look at that, you think of somebody that has passed.
Yes.
Okay. Do you really think that's a coincidence?
No, I don't believe in coincidences.
I don't either. No.
Synchronicity, yes.
Yes. Coincidence, no.
No, I don't believe that there is too. And she was also married on the 11th as well to her love bug. So
there you go.
But I just think that the 6th sense and the 11th sense, I think that is really cool. I mean, I don't get that. I always give my grandma count, is like around, it's toast.
Well, it's what it's how they come through to you.
It's connected. Right.
Yeah, there's many different forms. Look, a spirit is going to get a message through to you one way or the other.
Yes.
And so what Auriel and what I try to show people is how to be open to the experience so that you get the maximum benefit. From the experience. Right. Yeah.
Yes. Now, okay, here's the thing is that I found was so awesome. So one of the things that you talk about is the electromagnetic soul. And I'm like, oh, what's that? When I'm reading it, I was excited, like, wow. So can you give us a little bit of what
the
magnetic soul is? Because I do feel like some of us will really like that will be totally awesome. And again, if you want to, can you pre-buy the books?
Oh yeah. Okay. Please do. Yeah, understand that Amazon, as they've been people have been buying this for like 2 months now, pre-orders. Okay. Yeah, the Afterlife Frequency on Amazon. Or you can go to any fine bookstore and they'll order it for you. The electromagnetic soul is a term that I'm presenting in this book to explain who and what we really are. And it merges faith and science, because for thousands of years, people of faith believed that the soul pre-exists the body, comes into the body, and then leaves the body when we die. And that this physical vessel only houses the soul. Specifically, it's the brain. Okay, the brain is like a computer hard drive. And when the hard drive crashes, the who and what we are, the programs on the brain don't die with the brain, they get uploaded.
Right.
Well, we know from the laws of thermodynamics and physics that energy is neither created nor destroyed, only transferred from one form to another. Right. Neuroscience is the study of the human brain. And neuroscientists believe that, or at least they theorize, that consciousness, like who we are, is the result of chemical reactions and electronic impulses within our brain. But they cannot explain how, much less prove it. And the thing is, you look at a textbook on neuroscience, and there may be 800 or 900 pages on functions of the brain, and maybe a paragraph about consciousness, because it completely evades them. And that's because the brain doesn't create consciousness, it merely houses it. So I created the term, the electromagnetic soul, to describe who and what we really are, which is pure consciousness that is eternal electromagnetic energy. And that is a field, an energy field within our brain. And so that when we die, that energy is not destroyed, it is merely transferred to another frequency, the afterlife frequency.
Right. Well, and see, this is, a lot of people have fear of, the biggest fear is, are my people, are my loved ones okay?
Oh, they're always okay.
They're always okay.
They're always okay. And I don't say that lightly. See, spirits are pure energy. Everything. All right, we all know this from grade school, or I guess junior high school physics, is that everything is made of molecules, which in turn are made of atoms, which in turn are made of electrons, protons, and neutrons.
Yes.
And we know from quantum physics that they in turn are made of a smaller, the most basic unit, which is known as a quantum. Mm-hmm. All right. And a quantum is electromagnetic energy. Now, technically, an electron is a quantum. Okay. So I got to say that because I know some of the physics people, because an electron is 1/1800th the size of a proton. Right. Okay. But it is a quantum. So what that means is this pen is at the most basic level made of the same energy that I am. Yes. That the radio waves that are broadcasting the show, that the air that we are breathing, that the ocean is, that the space between the earth and the sun and the stars are all on the most basic level electromagnetic energy. And the brain has an electromagnetic field. And so that's why I wanted to explain this. And it was really cool because when Dr. Gary Schwartz, who is the University of Arizona, head of the parapsychology and the psychology department, and he's working on the Soul Phone project, which is technology to communicate with the other side. And he wrote the foreword for the book. He called me up and he goes, the EMS. The electromagnetic soul, I love it. I'm going to start using it. And he said that 20 years ago, he was trying to explain this as the electrical, dynamical mind brain. He said he came up with this like 10-word thing. He goes, Mark, you nailed it. Electromagnetic soul. Because, electromagnetic, 1 word, 2 words, electromagnetic soul, because you get the science and the faith together. Because science and faith should not be mutually exclusive. Right. And for centuries, they have been. But people of faith have been describing these phenomena through their filters, and now we have the benefit of quantum physics. Plus, for the last 40 years, with the advent of survival of consciousness and near-death experience research, we know that consciousness, the electromagnetic soul, survives physical death.
Yes. So we are infinite, and all religions and all spiritual beliefs say we are infinite. And so this right there just says, all right, peeps, we're infinite.
well, we are. And you know what it is? I got bogged down in the explanation. Let me answer the question. Spirits being pure energy. Yes. Energy is eternal. It doesn't get sick. It doesn't get tired. It doesn't get old. It doesn't die. And spirits come through. And they're always so happy and all this. You know who's miserable and unhappy? Us. We are. Yeah, us. And the thing is, we are living in this material world dimension for a reason. And, I don't have all the answers. And let me tell you, there are days it's like, why am I going through this? And we, well, we all feel that way, especially when you lose somebody that you love. A parent that loses a child, they're like, how could this be? And how do you make sense of this? But from what I have seen in the thousands of spirits I've communicated with, we are supposed to be going through the experiences that you cannot when you are in a purely infinite, pure energetic state. So we are acquiring experience and experiences and lessons and knowledge that we cannot acquire when we're pure energy.
Pure energy.
And now the question is why? And that's the big question. And I've asked them, I go, why? And they're like, why do you worry of this? Why don't you know what they always say? Instead of worrying about infinity, perhaps you should concentrate more on your finite existence while it lasts. And they're not being convoluted or circuitous in saying that. It's that our finite brain, which houses our infinite electromagnetic soul, is designed only for finite perception. I mean, think of, everything that we know has a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Yes.
We're born, we grow old, we die. Yep. You know, everything, our planet, everything has this finite quality to it. And that's because we're supposed to be experiencing things in the material, the finite world. And then when we transition to the infinite, then that's a whole new plane of existence.
Right. Well, okay. So I have a question for you. Well, I actually have a couple things. So, Michael N. Pease. All right. So she has really bad tinnitus in her ears. She gets different sounds and levels in each ear. Example is one ear gets really loud and will stop, and then the other ear does it. Plus, I get the sound of tiny little bells. And so I know that, like, when I'm like, if I'm somewhere where somebody needs, like, a spirit needs my attention, I get that too. Like, I get that frequency in my ears.
Frequency.
Yeah. You know, and sometimes, and it's just like, yes, you know, like, I'll be like, who? Yes.
Yeah.
And so, or I'll say, wait till I get home and then, you know, talk to me, because they're infinite. They can be anywhere, anytime, any place. So
right.
They're, you know, wherever. But is that, I feel like that's what she's getting, is like, she's getting frequency messages.
That's very possible. Tinnitus, tinnitus, as some people say. I say tinnitus. You say tinnitus. I say tinnitus. Anyway,
yeah,
it's a very complex condition, and many spiritually gifted people have tinnitus. Mm-hmm. And the thought is that you are hearing frequency, ergo the afterlife frequency. But, you know, we always, you know, have to approach things objectively, because in some cases of tinnitus, it is due to damage to the 8th cranial nerve. And that, you know, it's you know, it's like if your speakers are blown out and they get this hum, it can be the same type of thing. So it could be a physiological ailment, but it can also be understanding or hearing frequency.
Yes. Okay, so I hope you heard that, Michael Ann. All right, so here's Rockin' Reverend Rhonda has another idea. She wants to know, what do you think of deja vu? How does this relate to this subject today?
Oh my God, deja vu. Like been there, done that. Oh my gosh, where do I begin?
Where do we begin, right?
Where do we begin? Deja vu is where you've been somewhere or you're doing something and you feel like you've already done it. Mm-hmm. It is entirely possible. Oh my gosh. On the quantum level, earlier when I was explaining about the quantum, down to that, scientists believe that time as we know it does not exist on the quantum level, that the past, present, and future are happening simultaneously. And so that deja vu can be that our electromagnetic soul, which, you know, it just doesn't sit here. You know, that's why you get cold chills and tingles and tinnitus and all this. It's interacting with a lot. And let's say, particularly if you have a dream that, you know, of a prophetic nature, or you feel that you've been somewhere before, it's very possible that what's going on here is that your EMS, the electromagnetic soul, is interphasing with what I call the collective consciousness, which is all the souls and spirits around you. Yeah. And so you're discerning and have picked up on what you and I would perceive to be a future event, so that experience has happened with your soul. And then when you go and see it, it's like, oh, this has already happened.
Yeah.
Has it?
Has it happened?
And maybe it has, and maybe it hasn't, and maybe it is. And so that's entirely a possibility. I mean, I've been to places. I will never forget the first time I was in Paris. Wow. I was a college student, and as soon I was coming up this elevator, it was escalator, and I saw the Arc de Triomphe in this voice, I'm home.
Yeah.
And I talk about, I mean, I'm getting the cold chills and tingles now. And it was like, it felt hauntingly familiar to me. And I had never been to, I was only like, oh God, how old was I? Like 18 or 19. I had never been there before, yet it felt like I had. And that certainly was a very impactful deja vu experience.
Right. It's just like when it happens, it's just, wow.
It's cool. Yeah. I don't get scared of that. I mean, some people are like, get scared of that. Don't get scared of it. Explore it. Say, okay, what is this? What am I feeling? Get the information out of it. It's like people say, I walked in that place, I got cold chills and tingles. It must be evil demons. And it's like, whoa. Let's before we start leaping into the depths of hell, which, by the way, does not exist. You have to realize that spirits being, all right, pure electromagnetic energy, they're electromagnetic souls. When their electrical field interfaces with yours, the physiological response is chills and tingling.
Tingles, yeah.
Right. And it's the same physiological response that occurs when we're afraid, which is why it's normal for people to jump to the conclusion that encountering a spirit is scary. And instead, you need to stop and say, hold on. Hold on. Scary. Yeah, it's not scary. What's going on here?
It's energy.
It's energy.
Right.
We need, I need to come back on this show. I'm having, you're like we're having like way too much fun here.
All right. So we have a couple more things.
Sure.
So, and I know it's kind of off subject, but I feel like it's still on subject because it's all about energy. And I feel like the more people that learn about this, the less afraid of they are. And the more accepting of it they are. And so they're more open to receive. So, now, can either of your thoughts regarding the Akashic records, do you feel they exist?
That is a very, very in-depth question. I've always, for me, the jury's out on the Akashic records and the jury is in on the Akashic records. What I believe is that when we physically die, think of your electromagnetic soul as a drop of water. And that drop of water leaves and then plunges into the eternal sea of souls, which is what I call the collective consciousness, which is part of the afterlife frequency.
Yes.
All right. So now, like the drops of water in the ocean, you're still an individual, but now you're energetically linked to other spirits, linked to other spirits, linked to other spirits. So essentially, you're tapped into this vast, this infinite database.
Yeah.
Right. And is that the Akashic records? Because, a lot of times, and you probably get this too, Auriel, you're doing a reading for someone and a spirit comes through and they'll give information that far exceeded the scope of anything that he or she knew in this world. People say, well, he didn't know that. It's like, well, maybe he didn't know it when he was a mechanic at a gas station in, Louisville, Kentucky. And believe me, I'm not crashing on mechanics because I love you guys and girls.
Yes.
But the thing is, let's say he starts transmitting information of a very in-depth medical nature. Well, this is because spirits are not limited to who or what they knew when they were here in this world, and being tapped into and part of the collective consciousness, aka the Akashic records. So, are we discussing the same thing yet doing? Using different terminology, and that's why I say, the jury's both in and out.
Yeah, I feel like this. I feel the same way, but I also feel like if you really want to see where I call it the Akashic records. It could be anything, but your book of life, and that's another thing that I call it. It's the book of life. Like, go see your book of life. See where your soul has been. See what has happened and see what you can, help yourself with. But, and I guess we would call that the Akashic records, but the book of life would mean your soul's journey or your soul's life, and it's hard to explain that to people like that their soul has been man, woman, probably alien, all different other kinds of experiences besides just being like a Filipino female woman that does, podcasts. You know what I mean? Like,
well, yeah. Well, obviously we're talking about reincarnation, which I believe in. That's why I gave a lecture on it yesterday. Yeah. And it's funny when you get the skeptics saying, okay, and this is a big thing. They say there's more people alive on planet Earth now. There's like 8 billion or so people so that's more people than have ever lived in history before. If you add up all the people before. And they say, so I got you there. And it's like, do you? You are assuming then that Earth is a closed system.
Yeah.
Okay.
It come from all over.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Energy is flowing to us, through us, around us, and away from us.
Yep.
So, so there's a whole new flow of energy, souls coming into this planet. And then when you go through various incarnations in this dimension, and then it's time to leave, then you transfer to another dimension. And I remember like when that was conveyed to me, I'm like, are you kidding me? That sounds like a lot of work. Did we ever like get to go and hang out with God? Like, like in a Michelangelo painting. I mean, I've seen the Sistine Chapel. And then I'm thinking, do I really want to spend eternity in that scenario? And the thing is, they're laughing because it's like, we are with God. Okay. We are all connected to the divine. And this is the journey of the soul. And they're like, why? Once again, they say, why do you worry of such things? You
don't need to worry.
Don't worry about it. I mean, it's energy. You're going to when we're done here, you're going to move on and, end up being I just hope I'm going to be the hottest gelatinous cube on whatever planet it is.
All right. So we've got like Rhonda's calling it the collective switchboard. Now, okay, Donna Marie Higney. If you want to book a reading with Mark Anthony, you can go to the afterlifefrequency.com and book a reading with him. You can book an in-person reading with him, or you can book one through phone. I'm
just doing phone readings now. Yeah. I'm not doing any in-person events. And It's funny because, look, I take COVID seriously. All right. And I don't want to get in fights with anybody about that. But, and the thing is, Auriel, 6 months before COVID happened, I was doing a series of readings on people. And let's say it was probably around October, November of 2019.
Right.
And so I remember one in particular, it was like 3 or 4 of them. And people wrote me, anyway, I kept saying, March 2021, I see you and everyone around you wearing surgical masks. Are you like a nurse or a doctor? Or I'm like, no, that makes no sense. And this one woman's father kept saying, everyone's going to be wearing a mask by March, which was 2020. And I didn't understand it. Then COVID hits. Then I start getting emails from people that said, now we know what that meant, because it takes time after a reading. And they have consistently been telling me to take this seriously. And even the most recent message, they said, continue to wear your armor.
Yep, wear your armor.
Right. And their armor, and they show up and they say, get the shot. Look, I'm telling you what I get. If you don't want to do this, that's your choice.
Yep.
But the thing is, let's examine science.
Yes.
How did humanity eradicate smallpox? Was it conspiracy theories and rejecting, or a vaccine? How did we eradicate rubella?
A vaccine.
How did we eradicate polio?
A vaccine.
Okay. And people say, well, this happened so fast, and they're injecting us with chips, and they're going to track us. Look, if you have a cell phone, they can track you. All right. Yes. Secondly, the reason why scientists can develop a vaccine so quickly, this isn't like the era when HIV first appeared. Right. They now, because of HIV, and that's been like 40 years or so, science knows so much more about the immune system. Plus, coronaviruses have been around for a while, so they know. Right. So they know how they behave, and they have computer models on how they react and what they respond to. So when this started happening, They shot it out, the CDC and the Pasteur Clinic and Oxford, and actually the Russians, the Japanese, even the Chinese started sharing this data, and they began doing these computer simulations on how the viruses interact, and then how to develop these vaccines to create the immunities and to attack it. Now, I know that people are going to jump all over me for this. Look, I'm telling you, I'm telling you what I understand. And plus the messages that I've been receiving from the other side. And the sad part is that, who are you going to believe? The world's top immunologists, scientists, medical professionals, or people who barely got through high school, flunked science, and can't construct a sentence?
I'm going to believe the scientists.
Yeah. The thing is, I'm sure I'll check my Facebook page. I've lost 100 friends or whatever, and it's like,
okay.
It's okay. The thing is, if we want to get rid of this, we all have to work together. And I'd like to get rid of it, and I'd like to get back to a new normal.
Yes, absolutely. And I feel like that too. And I feel like it's up to everybody, but I'm keeping my armor on. And I do feel like there are more people that are starting to see, okay, well, maybe this is a good idea. Maybe I should get a shot, because this is not a conspiracy.
No, see, the disease isn't political. It doesn't care who it kills. And I just saw something in the news, like 3 very conservative, and I'm I stay out of politics. Okay, but there were 3 conservative talk radio hosts who were totally anti-vax, anti-mask, and they just died. Okay. Mm-hmm. And, and there's a lot of people now that are starting to turn around because this thing's horrible. I had an aunt.
It's horrible.
3 months ago, die from COVID. It has affected my family. I've lost people that I know, and yet there's other people in my family, not close relatives, but others who say, oh, well, they must have died from someone else. And the thing is, 600,000 Americans have now died from COVID. Mm-hmm. Wow.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. I mean, 600,000.
600,000 is a lot of people. And so I just feel like we need to do, it's an act of love for self, to take care of self and to do what you feel is for your highest and best good, whether it's getting a mask and putting it on, washing your hands a lot, getting a shot, whatever it takes to keep yourself going and in good health and well-being, and paying attention to who's around you, how close they are to you, and what is, being aware of your surroundings always, because I feel like this is going to continue to go on. The more people are being very stubborn and obstinate because they don't know any better and they're not willing to learn.
And the thing about viruses, they're nasty and they mutate, and these mutations are getting worse. So anyway, look, we're not here to talk about that.
We're not here to talk about that.
But yeah.
I do have something regarding parallel worlds. Okay, the other side, the veil, or whatever you want to call it. And I want to say this too: the veil is thin during this time of year. So, and it will remain thin until November. So this is a really good time of year to practice any skills that you are thinking or working with. So that's something that everyone should know. And so the veil, or whatever you call it, do you believe that our loved ones are leading a life like we do here, live in houses, go to jobs, find a mate, etc.? I'd like to believe my children have a better life, maybe to have peace in my heart.
My understanding is that spirits are not just invisible humans.
No.
Okay, so they are pure energy, and they're living an existence that is so amazing we can't even begin to fathom it.
We can't fathom it.
Yeah, and so like in a reading, let's say, or even a dream, let's say you have a dream where you connect with your children and you're sitting at a cafe and, sipping coffee. Mm-hmm. What happens there is the spirits are creating a construct, a point of reference that you can understand, because you can relate to sitting at a cafe and sipping coffee and having an amicable discussion, as opposed to, hey, Mom, I'm pure electromagnetic energy connected to the collective consciousness, and I can move at light speed, and can feel and am connected to everything everywhere. Okay, that is amazing. All right, but that's really hard for us to wrap our head around. So that's why, when I hear psychics say, oh, as above, so below. No. Okay. No. Yeah. They will give us a point of reference so that we can relate to them. It's like, if you try to explain graduate studies physics to a kindergartner,
and it's
not going to work. So you have to explain to the kindergartner in terms that he or she will understand, so that's what's going on there. But to answer your question directly, yes, your loved ones are having an incredible life. And remember, energy doesn't get sick, old, tired, or die. They're just fine. We're the ones that suffer.
We're the ones that suffer because we think that is something that is human. If we decide that
it's going to do that,
it's up to us, right?
Yeah, and I'm not downplaying for 1 second anyone missing a loved one. Okay, it hurts. I mean, Auriel and I are mediums, but when people we love die, I mean, a couple of weeks ago, my good friend Shirley Bolstock died. I don't know if you knew her. She was a medium, yeah. And when I got the news, I mean, I broke down. And she was just the sweetest, most intelligent, just amazing person. And she was just one of those people that came into your life, and my life was better because of it. And then I heard that she lost she fought a very brave battle against cancer, and then she was gone. And yes, she's communicated with me since then, but it's not the same because because we're living in the material world, and we have to realize what we miss is the physicality.
Yes.
And it's important for us to understand that when someone we love dies, that our relationship transforms from one of a physical nature to one of a spiritual nature. And it takes time to get to that point.
It does. It doesn't happen instantaneously.
No, it doesn't.
Mm-mm. No. So, we've been sitting here for an hour, and I want
to boom like that.
So you're coming back.
I would be honored to. Thank you.
You're welcome. I would love it. And I think everybody else would love it too. So remember, you can go to Amazon. You can go to the afterlifefrequency.com. You can prepay for your book. For those of you who ask questions in the comments, I'll be over there in the comments to answer your questions as best as I can and put information there. If you want to reach Mark, again, check him out at the afterlifefrequency.com. And please, please, please stay safe, keep your hearts open, and align with the energy of love. And we'll see you next week. Good night, everyone.
God bless.